Are you tired of believing that being an artist means struggling financially, that the starving artist lifestyle is inevitable? Well, in today's episode of The Thriving Creative, we're breaking down that myth and building a mindset where your creativity and financial success can thrive together. It's time to rewrite the story of what it means to be a successful artist. Let's dive in. Dun, 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 dun. Are you ready? Let's do it. Welcome back to The Thriving Creative. I'm your host, Gabrielle Senza, and this season we're focusing on building strong foundations for your creative work and your life. We're doing this together, by the way. I am working on the same stuff at the same time. Today we're tackling a mindset that holds so many creatives back, the starving artist myth. For generations, artists have been told that pursuing their passion means sacrificing financial stability. We've been conditioned to believe that creativity and a comfortable lifestyle can't coexist. But let me tell you something, that narrative is outdated and actually flat out wrong. Look around. There's plenty of evidence to the contrary. Think about it. Loads of artists, both past and present, had or have amazing art careers, making their best work while also thriving financially. You can make meaningful art and you can do work you love and you can be financially successful while doing it. In this episode, we're going to break down why this myth exists, how it's affecting your creative business, and most importantly, how to shift your mindset so you can start building real wealth through your art. Let's start by understanding where the starving artist story even came from. Historically, artists have been portrayed as tortured souls who sacrificed everything for their work. You think of like novels of artists in their garret and their freezing cold and all of this. Or think of Vincent van Gogh, recognized, unrecognized in his time, selling only one painting in his lifetime. This image of the poor, misunderstood genius has been romanticized for centuries. It does make for a good story, as do most tortured souls that somehow redeem themselves or have contributed something in the world. But that's not the only narrative. That's a good one, right? There's often the hero story and the uh, you know, the scrappy American success story. There are lots of different stories. So we don't need to buy into just that single narrative about the starving artist. Okay. So here's the truth. Many of the most celebrated artists were financially savvy. For example, Michelangelo was one of the wealthiest artists of his time, and Pablo Picasso was known for being strategic about the value of his work. So why does the myth persist? Because society has long undervalued creative work. And many of us internalize that message. We're told that if we pursue art, we should expect financial struggle. But we don't have to accept it. Let's challenge that belief right now. To break free from the starving artist myth, we need to recognize how scarcity thinking shows up in our lives. Here are some common beliefs you might recognize. No one buys art anymore. No one pays good money for art. I can't make a living doing what I love. I'm not good with money. If I focus on making money, I'm selling out. Do any of those sound familiar? These beliefs are rooted in scarcity thinking, the idea that there's not enough money, opportunity, or success to go around. But scarcity isn't truth, it's a belief. Shifting to an abundance mindset means believing that there are people who value creative work and that money is a tool to support your vision, not something that corrupts it. Let me share a quick story. I once worked with a visual artist who underpriced her work because she feared no one would buy it. After shifting her mindset and aligning her pricing with the value of her work, not only did she start selling more, but her clients respected her work more. Pricing isn't just about money, it's about how you value yourself. This is really important. You have to consider the amount of time you put into your work and your training and all the things that you had to go through in order to get to where you are right now and to be able to make the work, the poetry, the songs, the paintings, whatever it is, to make those manifest in the world. You know, it costs money to be an artist. It costs money to make art. So you can't be giving the art away. It just looks like you don't value it. And you're like, oh, it's just something I made. Here, have it. No, 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 no. Like, it's one thing to make a gift or a donation for of your work because you recognize the value it has in the world and that value can help something that you are passionate about. And what we're advocating for here with the Thriving Creative Show is to make sure that you are setting yourself up to thrive before helping everybody else, right? You can't give from an empty cup. And so we have to make sure that you are well taken care of, you're well resourced, you have everything you need financially and, physically, mentally, spiritually, all the different ways, communally. So when we are more filled up, more sustained, more resourced, then we are much more able to give generously, to give from our heart, to give without any pain involved. And so, yeah, that's what we're advocating for, is making sure that you're filled up, you're resourced, and you have the ability to make the art that you want to make and to make the contributions into the world as you wish to do. So, how do you shift from scarcity to abundance? Let's talk about it. First, rewrite your money story. Identify the beliefs you hold about money and creativity. Ask yourself, who taught me this? Is it true? I can bet that these are attitudes you picked up from someone else and they believed those things. But if you look at it more objectively, more analytically, and you open up your mind and look for evidence to the contrary, you're going to find it, because what's true for one person isn't true for another. And their circumstances were not the same as what your circumstances are, most likely. And so consider whether you can maybe replace these limiting beliefs with empowering ones. So instead of saying no one buys art anymore, try something like, there are collectors who value and invest in art like mine. Because you know what? It's true. You can find the evidence online even, or in galleries. Art sells. That's why people are in business still, running galleries and doing shows and festivals and fairs and all of those things. So don't allow your mind to try to trick you and tell you lies. Okay? Number 2, separate self-worth from net worth. This is really important. Separate self-worth from net worth. Your value as an artist isn't tied to how much you sell. It's not tied to your bank account. It's not tied to how much you get for your work. It's not based on how many pieces of work you sell in a year or in a lifetime. It has nothing to do with that. Your value as an artist isn't tied up to how much you sell. So pricing your work appropriately honors your time, your skill, your creative energy, all the things I talked about before. So make sure that you're separating self-worth from net worth. Even if you have nothing in your bank account and you have an opportunity to show a bunch of work that you have in the studio and you're pricing it, and you might be feeling like, I want to price it to sell because I really need the money. Don't do that. Because if you sold the work, say, for $1,200 and suddenly you're going to like put it out in the market for $200 a piece, think of what the people who already spent $1,200 for the same kind of art would be thinking and feeling about that. And because then it diminishes the value of the work that they already invested in at the full price. And also it diminishes the value of the work that is existing, that has the value that you initially set for it, the $1,200 value. So be sure to not, like mix those all up and let your need, your desperation come through. Okay, especially in the public realm where your work is being presented, you want to stay professional, and you want to honor your work and the value that it holds, as well as the people who have already sold it and purchased it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and if you don't know what I'm saying, feel free to put a comment in the, below, and I'd love to engage with you on the conversation. Okay, number 3, diversify your income. Relying on one income stream can keep you in scarcity mode. Explore multiple streams, selling originals, prints, teaching workshops, licensing your work, or creating digital products. You know that expression, don't put all your eggs in one basket. The same is true for your income. Like, it's okay to have other work that sustains you and pays for your expenses. It doesn't have to come from your artwork even. It doesn't have to even be related to art, as long as it keeps you uh, able to make the art you want to make, right? It really doesn't matter how you make the money that allows you to make the art you want to make and put out into the world. So, and then if you do want to, of course, sell your work and um, have that be another form of income for you. So I highly recommend that. I don't recommend just relying on your artwork alone to cover all of your expenses, because it can really impact the way you think about your work, and it can impact your production, what you're putting out into the world. You may be trying to please a general population as opposed to really creating work from your heart and from your soul that is needing to be created in the world. So just be really aware of how you are thinking about that. And there are lots and lots of ways to diversify your income. I talk about it a lot in my shows and my coaching and the Create Collective. And then, of course, you can find all kinds of videos on YouTube and stuff, where lots of artists are talking about different things. Some of them are talking about this, diversifying your income. But anyway, there are a lot of people that talk about how to diversify your income. They're not speaking specifically to artists generally, but you can apply a lot of those ideas. Essentially, I want you to think of money as a creative resource. It's something that you can learn to work with, not something that controls you. Okay? Okay, now let's get practical. Here are 3 steps you can take right now to start breaking free from the starving artist mindset. 1, set clear financial goals. How much do you want to make this year? Break that number down into monthly and weekly goals. Then ask, what products or services will help me reach that goal? So I recently did this for my year and my planning, and I came up with 100 different ways I could generate income through my creative work, and way too many things to do in one year for one person. So I need to scale way, way, way back. And in doing so, I chose to go with what made sense, is to go with the work that will produce the most income, some say the fastest path to cash. So in a way, I'm going for the work that will generate the biggest income without requiring 100% of my time, because like you, I want to be able to create more artwork. I want to put more artwork out into the world, and I want to have the financial support and structure in place so that I can afford to make the artwork I want to make, and to travel to present it, and to ship it, and to promote it. All of those things take money. And so I want to make sure that I'm not spending all of my time on work that will generate a small amount of money with a lot of work. I want to choose the things that make a lot of money for much less work. If it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of work, but it is the stuff that generates the bigger amount of money, and therefore it'll have a bigger impact on creating the freedom and the freedom of time, the creative freedom that I desire, right? So that's the idea. What products or services will help me reach that goal the easiest, the fastest, the most in the most satisfying ways. Okay. Because also realize like if you're going to break the number down into monthly and weekly goals, how are you going to sell the work and generate that income if you're choosing to sell work every single month? Is it going to be online? Are you going to set up exhibitions in all these different places? So it pays to really think it through. I personally have the tendency to think I can do all the things all by myself. And then, I actually have learned finally that I set very unrealistic expectations of myself and how much I can get done in a day and certainly in a year. And so I just want to make that really clear, like really um, be be realistic about breaking these things down. And you might even want to hire a creative coach, or somebody else that can work through it with you. I've hired creative coaches, and I have a consultant that I love to use. I do this for other people, and so I highly recommend working it out with other people and helping you see those spots that you might be missing, right? Okay, number two, price your work with confidence. So stop undercharging, like I was talking about earlier. Research what others in your field charge and price your work to reflect its value. Remember, people respect what they invest in. So, sure, people like to get a discount or a deal, but they also want to know that it's really quality, that they paid for something that it's worth what they paid, and and that they invested in it. That this is a beautiful thing worth spending money on, and they're happy that they did, and happier even than if it were like super low priced. You know what I mean? Because, like I was saying earlier, low prices sort of diminish the quality of the work, the value of the work, and collectors can feel that as well. And they'd rather feel really proud about the work that they've purchased. And they will feel more proud when you are confident in your pricing, and you're also confident in the value of your work, right? Okay, let's see. I'm looking at my notes. Oh, this is a really, really, really important one. Another practical step to take, number three, is start talking about money. That's what I do on this show: art, money, and pleasure. Amp up your life, create a thriving creative life. And this all begins with talking about money. Money doesn't have to be taboo. Talk to other artists about pricing and sales and strategies. And there's a wealth of information online for free that you can access that talks about these things, that shows examples of these things. You can do research and see how people are pricing their work and how much they're selling and stuff like that. So definitely don't be afraid to talk about money. It's a really healthy thing to do. And for me, likewise, I really believe that it's really important to talk about, for example, other things like sex, money, you know, um, our beliefs, our values, really consider them. And when we can talk about them, we can start normalizing the the importance of these things, right? And how they impact our lives and other people's lives and our children. Do we want to pass along those same scarcity beliefs that we might have grown up with? The only way to avoid that is by learning how to um, clear those scarcity beliefs and really flip the narrative and reframe your beliefs. Like come up with new beliefs that you can feel you honestly believe. You have evidence that shows like, yes, it's okay to believe this. It's true. It's real. There's plenty of evidence of artists who are thriving financially and creatively, and you can be one of these artists too. So the other thing is, yeah, like I said, when you're talking about money and the more you normalize these conversations, the more empowered you'll feel. So if you need support, this is exactly what we dive into in the creative vision mapping workshop I have coming up next week, I believe, or the end of this week already on the 17th. It's called Creative Vision Mapping. It's a workshop. We connect our artistic goals to realistic financial strategies. So if you want to, the price is really low. I think it's already up on Eventbrite, and I will pop the link in here. You'll also find it on my feed in Facebook, as well as on my channel in last week's episode, and it'll be in this week's episode as well, the link to register for the event. Okay, so I want to leave you with this. The starving artist myth is just that, a myth. You have the power to choose a new narrative, one where you create meaningful work and build financial freedom. Take a moment today to reflect. What limiting beliefs do I have about money and creativity? And what's one small action I can take to start shifting that belief? Write it down, speak it out loud. It's about, let's break this myth together. If you're ready to take real action, I'd love to see you at the Creative Vision Mapping Workshop. We'll take your artistic vision and connect it to financial strategies that support your growth. Check the show notes for details. Bum, ba-dum, ba-bum. We're at the end. Thank you for tuning in to The Thriving Creative. If today's episode sparked something in you, I'd love to hear about it. Share this episode, subscribe, and leave a review to help more creatives break free from limiting beliefs. And remember, your creativity has value. Your work matters, and you deserve to thrive. Until next time, stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep creating.